It began, as most tangles do, with one small thing. On Friday afternoon, Miss Lim had handed back the class's painted clay pots from art club, each one carefully fired and glazed. Wei loved his, a sturdy little blue pot he had spent 2 whole lessons shaping. He carried it home as proudly as a trophy. That evening, however, hurrying past the dining table to answer the doorbell, he knocked it with his elbow. The pot tipped, rolled, and smashed on the floor into a dozen sad blue pieces. Wei stared at the wreckage, his heart sinking like a stone. The class was holding a little display of the pots on Monday, and Ms. Lim had been so pleased with his. What on earth was he going to say? On Monday morning, Wei arrived at school with empty hands and a worried knot in his stomach. He had not mended the pot, it was far too broken for that, and he had not thought of what to say either, when Ms. Lim began setting out the display and asked brightly, "Wei, where is your lovely blue pot?" And the truth was right there on the tip of his tongue. "I dropped it at home," he could have said. "I'm so sorry." 3 honest words and it would have been over. Yet the whole class was looking, and a hot flush of shame rushed up his neck. So instead, almost before he knew it, a different sentence slipped out. "Someone must have taken it from my bag," he heard himself say. The words hung in the air, and Wei felt the floor seemed to shift beneath him. Miss Lim's smile faded into concern.
"Taken? Oh dear,"
she said.
"That is serious, Wei. Taking something that belongs to someone else is a real wrong."
She set down the pot she was holding and looked around the hushed classroom.
"If something has gone missing from this class, then we must get to the bottom of it."
That was the very moment Wei understood what he had done. He had not simply told a fib to wriggle out of trouble, he had accidentally accused his whole class of stealing. The little lie, barely a breath old, had already begun to grow legs and walk off in a direction entirely of its own. morning, the missing pot hung over the classroom like a small grey cloud. The cheerful display table now had a sad, empty space where Wei's pot should have stood. Children whispered behind their hands and glanced suspiciously at one another. Who would do such a thing? Wei sat at his desk feeling utterly miserable. He had wanted to escape a moment of embarrassment, and instead he had made everyone unhappy. He had thought a lie would be like a plaster, covering the problem over so it could be forgotten. Yet this lie was nothing like a plaster. It was more like a small fire. The harder he tried to ignore it, the more it crackled and spread, until he could think of almost nothing else at all. Things grew worse at recess. Ms. Lim, determined to solve the mystery, had quietly asked Aisha, sensible, fair-minded Aisha, to help her work out what had happened. Aisha took to it like a real detective. She found Wei by the water cooler, a small notebook in her hand.
Don't worry, Wei,
she said kindly.
We'll find your pot. Now, just so I can write it down properly, when did you last see it? Was it definitely in your bag this morning?
Wei swallowed hard. Each gentle question was like a step onto thinner and thinner ice. To keep the first lie standing up, he found he had to prop it up with more.
Yes.
He mumbled, not meeting her eyes.
It was there when I left home.
So the tangle tightened, link by link. Since Wei had said the pot was in his bag that morning, Aisha reasoned that it must have gone missing somewhere between home and the classroom. That meant the thief had to be someone near his bag, which pointed straight at the friends who sat closest to him. Aisha did not say so unkindly. She was only following the clues he had given her. Yet Wei watched in horror as his single careless sentence led step by logical step towards the people he cared about most. He had not meant to harm anyone, yet a lie, he was learning, does not care what you meant. Once you set it loose, it follows its own cold logic, dragging in whoever happens to be standing nearby. By the afternoon, the trail had led to Daniel. Quiet Daniel, who sat just behind Wei and rarely said a word, had been seen reaching towards Wei's bag that morning. A classmate remembered it, Aisha noted it down, and suddenly all eyes turned to Daniel. His face went pale and then red. I was only putting back the rubber I borrowed, he stammered. Yet, because Wei's story had built up a thick fog of suspicion, even the truth sounded weak and shaky now. Daniel had done nothing wrong at all, yet he stood there looking, to everyone else, exactly like a boy who had been caught out. Wei felt sick to his stomach. His lie had found a victim, and it was one of the gentlest boys in the class. That was the moment everything changed inside Wei. Watching Daniel stand there, pale and unfairly accused, was far more painful than any embarrassment about a broken pot could ever have been. The lie that was meant to protect him had grown into a monster that was hurting his friend. Wei thought back over the long, miserable day. The lie had cost him his peace of mind all morning. It had cost the whole class their happiness. It had cost Aisha hours of careful, wasted detective work. Now, on top of all that, it threatened to cost gentle Daniel his good name. He did a quick, painful sum in his head, and the answer was suddenly very clear. The truth would have cost him 3 small words on Friday. The lie was costing far, far more, and the bill was still growing. Wei's heart was thudding, but he knew at last what he had to do. He thought of Ah Ma, who always said that a lie is a hole you dig with your own hands. The longer you keep digging, the deeper you sink, and the harder it becomes to climb back out. He had been digging all day. It was time to stop and to start climbing. He stood up from his desk on shaky legs.
Ms. Lim,
He said, and his voice came out smaller than he meant it to. The whole class turned. Daniel looked up. Aisha paused, her pencil hovering above her notebook. Wei took the deepest breath of his life, looked Miss Lim in the eye, and said the words he should have said on Friday.
It wasn't taken. I lied.
A hush fell over the classroom. Then, in a rush, the whole tangled story came tumbling out of way. The doorbell, the elbow, the dozen sad blue pieces on the dining room floor. How ashamed he had felt on Monday morning. How the lie had slipped out before he could catch it. And how, to his horror, it had spread and spread until it pointed its finger at poor Daniel. He did not leave out a single part, even the parts that made him look foolish or unkind. As he spoke, the strangest thing happened. The heavy, sick feeling he had carried all day began, little by little, to lift. The lie had been a weight. The truth, though terrifying to tell, felt like setting that weight down at last. The first thing Wei did, the moment he had finished, was turn to Daniel.
I'm so sorry, Daniel.
He said, his voice thick.
You didn't do anything wrong. It was never you. It was my lie. I should never have let everyone think it was you.
For a heart-stopping second, Daniel just looked at him. Then his pale, pinched face softened, and he gave a small, forgiving nod.
It's all right.
He said quietly.
Thank you for saying so.
A murmur of relief rippled round the room. The grey cloud that had hung over the class all day seemed to thin and break apart, and the children who had been whispering and suspecting one another began, slowly, to breathe easily again. Mrs. Lim crouched down to Wei's level. She did not shout, and she did not look angry, only serious and a little sad.
Thank you for telling the truth, Wei.
She said gently.
I know how hard that must have been, standing up in front of everyone. It took real courage.
She paused.
There is something I want you to notice, though. Think how much simpler this would all have been if you had told me on Monday morning or even just now, an hour ago, instead of letting it grow. One honest sentence on Friday would have ended it before it began.
Wei nodded, his cheeks burning, because he knew right down to his bones that every single word of it was true. Now that Wei had finally told the truth, the day began to mend itself. Aisha closed her detective notebook with a relieved little laugh and admitted she was glad the case was solved, even if the answer was not the one she had been chasing. Arjun, never one to stay gloomy for long, clapped Wei on the shoulder and said that owning up like that was braver than scoring a goal. Daniel, too, the gentle boy who had so nearly been blamed, came and sat beside Wei at lunch, as if to show there were no hard feelings between them. Wei had been so afraid that the truth would cost him his friends. Instead, he found telling it had brought them closer. The truth, it turned out, was not the end of things. It was the start of putting them right. After school, Wei walked home and told Amar everything, just as he had told the class. She listened the whole way through, nodding slowly. When he reached the end, she did not scold him, for she could see that the day itself had already taught him more than any scolding ever could.
"You have learned the most expensive lesson there is, my dear,"
she said.
"and you have learned it young, which is a mercy. A lie always seems cheaper than the truth at first. That is the trick of it. It feels like the easy way out, yet the bill always comes, and it is always far higher than you expected. The truth cost you a little courage today. A lie cost you far more tomorrow and the day after that."
That night, Wei lay in bed and thought it all through, the way a detective might go back over a solved case. He could see the whole chain now, link by link. The broken pot, the moment of shame, the first small lie, and then the second and the third. Each one needed to hold up the one before, until the truth had been buried under a whole heap of them. He understood at last why one lie so often leads to another. A lie cannot stand on its own. It has to be propped up again and again with fresh lies until the whole rickety tower is far too tall and far too wobbly to keep standing. The truth, by contrast, needed nothing to hold it up. It simply stood, plain and steady, all on its own. Tuesday, Wei brought the dozen blue pieces of his broken pot to school in a little bag and set them on the display table, just as they were. It was not the proud, finished pot he had hoped to show, but it was honest, and that he had decided was worth far more. Beside it, he propped a small card with 3 plain words. I broke it. Some lessons you only have to learn once. From that day on, whenever a lie tempted him with its easy, cheap-looking escape, Wei remembered the long, costly Monday and the heap of trouble that one little untruth had piled up. Every time he chose the truth instead, not because it was always easy, but because, in the end, it always cost him less.